Our next young Fuerscher, Nishita Vella. Now let's see if I can pronounce this correctly. Xenotransplantation. Let's hope Nishita explains it to us better. It sounds really complicated. Nishita, clear us up, please.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Today, let's dive deeper and explore whether or not animals could save humans. I personally would say no to this question, and I'm sure you guys would too. But I'm sure that by the end of this presentation today, you guys would think otherwise when asked this question. So, my answer for this would be yes, animals can save humans, but with a procedure called xenotransplantation. Xenotransplantation is a procedure that consists of transplanting organs, cells, and tissues from animals into humans. You might be thinking, how does such a sci-fi procedure actually work? Well, it isn't all that easy. In fact, organ rejection being one of the biggest obstacles of xenotransplantation, many of the previous transplants have failed miserably. But that's when CRISPR has made the impossible possible. CRISPR is a gene editing tool that consists of making high-efficiency gene edits in the donor's body so that the recipient's body can accept the donor's organs without treating the donor's organs as a foreign body. In fact, we can clearly see an example right below of how much CRISPR has revolutionized the field of xenotransplantation. If we go back in time to 1964, during the first ever cardiac xenotransplantation, no particular gene editing tool was used. And unfortunately, as a result, the patient had passed away within 2 hours. But if we fast forward to 2012, with the discovery of CRISPR, scientists were able to knock out 4 porcine genes associated with abnormal growth to prevent rejection and implant 6 human genes to promote acceptance. And using this relatively new technique, scientists, along with surgeons, were able to carry out a really successful operation. Just last year, in January 2023, they were able to transplant the first ever genetically modified pig heart into David Bennett, a 57-year-old male with terminal heart disease. The surgery had performed so well that the patient survived for 61 days after the operation with no complications. Okay, I know what you're thinking. 61 days? That does not seem like a lot, but just think about it. We have went from a patient surviving no more than 2 hours to a patient surviving more than 2 months. So, if our scientific progress continuously at this level, in the coming years, we can expect much more long-lasting and positive outcomes, like we did with David Bennett right here. Let's talk about some more advantages of xenotransplantation. The main motive of xenotransplantation is to alleviate organ shortage by providing an unlimited supply of organs. The main problem that we're all aware of nowadays, especially as our population increases, is that our supply for organs isn't able to satisfy our need for organs. And I can show you right below that in 2022, on the Eurotransplant waiting list, 41,000 patients were registered last year. But out of them, only 36,000 patients received a transplant, leaving almost 15 to 20% of the patients left untreated. And in addition to this, on the diagram on the left, we can see the number of individuals who were removed from the Eurotransplant waiting list, either due to them being unfit or due to death, all while waiting for an organ transplant. This means that almost every hour, 5 new patients were added onto the Eurotransplant waiting list, and that every single day, 20 patients died. Another advantage xenotransplantation possesses is that it has the potential to reduce organ trafficking. Organ trafficking is basically when an individual is exploited for their organ, in the end making them feel vulnerable. And as we may assume, an increase in organ demand leads to an increase in organ trafficking. How would you feel if you were being forced into donating an organ? Did you know that every single day in Europe, someone is lured into illicit organ trade? In fact, Global Financial Integrity informs that 10% of all organ transplants are done via trafficked organs. This form of illegal trafficking is especially prominent in poorer countries, such as those in Asia, Africa, and Eastern Europe. We all think that as we advance into the future and as time progresses, things will get better and that such illegal activities will reduce. However, I was really shocked to discover that just last month, in February 2023, Massachusetts had released a new law stating that prisoners who donate their organs will receive less prison time. And who doesn't want to stay in prison for a shorter amount of time? This law basically forces and in fact favorizes prisoners into donating their organ just so the state can satisfy our needs as a society. So no, things do not get better as we advance into the future, and therefore we must take action now. And xenotransplantation offers exactly that. As with any new technique, along with advantages, there also comes disadvantages. And this new controversial method raises many moral and ethical issues. But the core is simple. Is it okay to sacrifice one innocent life to save 5 others? We'll see. Well, animals used for xenotransplantation are forced to a lifetime of confinement and painful procedures, all without their consent. This violates best established practices for them. However, on the other hand, meat defenders argue that the same is being done for domestication processes. Because millions of animals are being slaughtered every single day just so we can eat them in our everyday meals. And we all know that eating meat is not necessary for us to live. However, with xenotransplantation, animals have the potential to save the lives of 5 others. Moving on. Another aspect that contributes to this is that some people report that they would feel uncomfortable, dirty, or even guilty with the idea of having to live with an animal organ or tissue for the rest of their lives. This is all heavily influenced by data such as gender, education, religion, and background. But that leads me on to my next point. Can education change one's... So can education change one's beliefs? As we can see on this diagram, education can change one's beliefs, as by the end of the survey, which informed people about what xenotransplantation exactly is, more than 3/4 of the people had changed their minds. So I would like to conclude my presentation by answering this question. Could xenotransplantation be an effective alternative for human transplantation? Well, as we saw in the presentation, the advantages clearly outweigh the disadvantages. And with our scientific progressing, we can achieve more positive and better outcomes in the future. But in the end, it all depends on the patient's opinions, as medical professionals are supposed to oblige them. Thank you very much.
Hello. So, first presentation here with us. How are you feeling?
At the beginning, I was a little scared, but the staff and everyone's just been so welcoming, so it really calmed me down. And by the second slide, I've gotten used to the environment, and yeah, it went well for my first time.
Thank you very much. And it's also great to have you here. And you seemed very confident in your presentation. And we've been talking a little bit, and you were telling us that you have future plans with your project. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit more what your vision is and where you want to get at?
So as you guys saw in my presentation, it was basically on the surface level, just exploring what xenotransplantation is. It's a complicated word. But yeah, in the future, if I come back next year, I would like to dive deeper and explore the chemical engineering part of this and see how CRISPR can shape the donor's body and genes and how it can, help us in the future to reduce organ shortage and replace human transplantation.
Wow, okay. What was the inspiration? What motivated you to go down that path?
Well, I first came across this new technique last year in February with the help of David Bennett, because I went on BBC and the headlines were all about David Bennett getting a pig heart transplanted into him, and I was just so fascinated about it that I ran to home to explore about this, and then I found myself on the computer stuck on there for 1 hour straight. So I was like, hey, I should do this for Jonk Fuerscher. So yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you covered many topics here. So you said it's highly complicated topic. The people who are working on such transplantation usually rehearse 10 years in advance, more or less, to be able to. That was not scary for you to tackle such like an important topic, both on technical and societal aspect of it?
Well, it never really felt like a burden for me because I was really interested in this topic. So working on it was really, fun for me. And also, I would say the most scariest part is actually presenting this in front of 15 experts because they all know probably more than me. So me telling my knowledge is a little scary. But yeah, I thought it was really fun.
The good thing is we've seen as well that you have the ability to introduce some new concepts sometimes to them as well. So it's more like an exchange here, I would say. There was also something I wanted to talk to you about was we met a couple of weeks ago here because you attended one of the workshops here. It was with Tessa and it was about how to make your project shine on stage.
Yes, yeah.
We've seen you shining on stage. What did you take out of that workshop that helped you here today?
Well, in my presentation, before I had a lot of text on my presentation, but after the workshop with Tessa, I remember the activity where we had to compact the information on the slide.
Absolutely.
I feel like that really helped me because I had lots of text on my PowerPoint, but the workshop, helped me to reduce my text and make it clear for the audience. Because when I present, I have to assume the judges don't know anything and I have to, explain them everything from scratch. So yeah. The workshop helped me.
You made it really lively. We've noted a part, for example, where you introduced the 61 days and then you say, hold on, I know what you're thinking. And you really engage the people. And I think it's important on such a topic here.
Exactly. And I guess there were several skills that you had to learn and put together to come to the point that you are in now.
Yeah.
Like we asked already previous contestants, what would be some recommendation that you would give people that come after you?
I would say just go for it because whoever comes here, they get a prize. So I feel like that's really motivating. And also...
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And also, there's lots of people to help you around. So even if it's your first time, like for me, there's lots of people there to guide you. So it never really gets overwhelming, in my opinion.
Okay, so it sounds like she wants to come back, huh?
Yes, it sounds like it.
We'd be happy to, at least.
But now, out of a personal interest, the science that you made, you probably now saw where it might lead to. How do you see, will your research or what you're looking into impact the world down the line?
Well, as I've said on my presentation, the main problem that we're all aware of is organ shortage. Many people die every single day just because an organ isn't available to them. And I personally encountered some people in my life that, have passed away, unfortunately, because they haven't received their organs in time. And basically, I just think xenotransplantation could be an effective alternative to replace human transplantation. Because if you're on your deathbed, if it's either do or die, I would personally choose xenotransplantation to have another go at life. So,
I've got the last tiny question. If you check in the future, do you think there is more future for xenotransplantation or for cultivating new cells and growing organs? What do you see the most viable option for you?
Do you mean 3D bioprinting?
For instance,
I feel like, xenotransplantation, I feel like offers the exact same thing as bioprinting. Of course, for bioprinting, you don't have to sacrifice the lives of animals, but yeah, I could talk about it next year in my presentation.
That would be awesome.
Great.
Looking forward to a valid comparison, yeah. Thank you for proposing that.
But then thank you very much for being here.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Answering all of our difficult questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward where your project takes you. And then until next year, I guess.
Yeah.
And now we're going to see our next contestants, what they present to us. And there are a lot of interesting things.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I had fun.